Why seller paid concessions are more valuable than a price reduction. On the next, don't bet the house.
Hey, who isn't, Mike? Who isn't?
You remember when Eddie Murphy was funny?
Yeah, I do remember. Hey, remember, we don't own the rights to this music. This is Eddie Murphy. Okay?
It is Eddie Murphy.
He likes to party all the time.
Yeah. All right, fellas. So you found a house. You are ready to make an offer. Tell me why you might want to go with a seller reduction rather than a price drop.
I mean, I think seller paid costs are very important, especially right now. And I think it's funny that we're even talking about this because the last 3 years we haven't even been able to get those.
Yeah.
So what it is like, let's just say you make an offer on the house. You know, you're going to offer him $200,000 for the house, but you're going to ask him to pay $5,000 of your closing cost. So you can use it for a lot of different things. You know, you can use it for your prepaid, your insurance, stuff like that. Or right now, I think the perfect thing to do with it is you know, everybody's concerned about the interest rate. Why not do a buy down? And what that is, you know, let's just say the rate's at 7% today, which it's not, it's a little bit lower. But we're gonna use 7%. And all of a sudden you ask them, you know, hey, I'm gonna use $5,000 or whatever it is to buy down my rate to 6%. So I'm just gonna give you a little bit of numbers on this. So you buy a $200,000 house, you put 5% down on it at a 7% interest rate, your taxes are roughly $2,500 and your insurance is $1,500. Your payment's gonna be $1,597 a month. That's a rough estimate. Obviously, we know there's some other things in there, credit and all that. But you use $5,000, you buy down your rate, maybe you pay for some upfront PMI and get that out of there. We can talk about that later. But you do something like that, you buy it down to 6%. The same $200,000 house, 5% down payment at a 6% rate, $2,500 in taxes and $1,500 in insurance. You're at $1,477 a month. It's $125 a month that you're saving. That's huge to a lot of buyers. Mm-hmm. And what did we do? The seller still got the price they wanted. They just had to give a little bit of seller concessions to help the buyer out, buy the rate down. It works out for everybody.
Now why is that better than just dropping the price by $5,000?
Well, in order, you know, and Luke's going to talk about this from a seller standpoint, but I mean, in order for the seller to do the same thing, they're going to have to drop it down significantly to get that payment the same.
You know, most buyers, where they determine their affordability is in their monthly payment. And so I think that's a great example of a way to make your monthly payment a little cheaper, make it a little more affordable. And on the seller side of things, in order for the buyer to receive that same monthly payment, you're talking about dropping the price about 20 grand. And so rather than dropping it 20 grand, you're paying $5,000 in seller concessions. It's a win for the buyer because they're getting a lower payment. It's a win for the seller because they're getting more of a purchase price. And so at, you know, their bottom line, you know, you're talking about that's an extra $15,000 on the seller's bottom line.
And I think a lot of people don't think about that. Even from a seller's standpoint, you're not thinking about, well, you know, how is this going to benefit me? It's benefiting you a lot because, hey, Mike, why don't you go ahead and drop the price to $180 and I'll buy it, or I'll give you $200,000. You give me $5,000 in closing costs. I'm really only giving you $195, but you give me $5,000 in closing costs. I win, you win. It's right now the thing about this market and why you want to hire a professional is because you got to get creative about this stuff. You need to have knowledge. I mean, there's so many people out there that don't understand this. They're real estate professionals, but they don't understand this. And there's a way that we can all win.
And I think we're back on point, something we've talked about in the last 5 shows. This market offers unique opportunities. This is something you couldn't have done a year ago. This is why getting involved in buying a house now works, and it still works for the seller as well.
Well, it's, you know, like we talked about, the market's changed a little bit. Sellers are having to concede some different things. There's a little more give and take between a buyer and a seller right now. Doing a seller paid concessions has more advantages to a seller than just strictly dropping the price to try to get it sold.
Well, once they drop the price, it doesn't matter. And all of a sudden you drop the price, like even from a seller's negotiating standpoint, they might come in and offer you that 180 and they still going to want the $5,000 closing cost. So it's like, it's really, you know, it's not that beneficial to just automatically do a price job. Mm-hmm. You do have to figure out where the price should be, but there's other creative things you can do here to help out a buyer and still get your home sold.
Okay, well, I think the main point is you need to get a real estate professional that knows what he's doing, knows the different tactics you can use, and it's just extremely important. So
Call me.
Yep, and these guys obviously.
No, call me, not Luke today.
Okay, there you go.
Luke's getting ready to go show, so I need to go show.
Well, okay, we're gonna go on to betting right here. Drinking and gambling, it just made me think of something. So have you ever made a bet before and then forgot you made it?
Man, actually, Mike, we were sitting in the office earlier, and I got onto my BetMGM app, and I noticed that I had some money in there. And as of last week, I thought there was like $4 left because I didn't do so well. And so I get to back looking, and I made a 3-game parlay, and I thought that the Raiders and Chargers went over, and they didn't. So, because there was like 4 minutes left in the game, and they were right at the line. So I just assumed game over. Raiders were moving down, but the Raiders do Raider things like they did last night. And, ended up, I had about $150, so I get to gamble again today.
Very nice. That's finding $100 in your pocket.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing. That's happened to me before. It generally works the other way for me. I bet on that. What? Anyway, we're going to start with Luke. What's your picks of the week?
This week I have a nice little three-team teaser. A couple weeks ago I bet heavy on Minnesota when they were home dogs against Dallas. I learned from that mistake. I'm not going to do that again. But I am betting another really
That was
weird
an ass
line.
whooping.
Yeah. The Lions are getting points against the Minnesota Vikings this week. It's a little unique because the win-loss record is, significantly different.
Right.
Detroit's getting they're minus 2.5 points. I'm going to put them in a teaser, a 6-point teaser. So now I'm getting the Lions plus 4.5. I'm teasing down the Bills, so they're minus 4. And then I like Tampa at San Francisco right now. And I'm teasing them all the way up to getting plus 9.5 points. Gives me a lot of breathing room in there. I'm getting decent odds. I'm plus 140 odds. So that's what I'm going.
Well, you won a lot of money on the Lions. I mean, they've been turning it on, but it really, I've always said anytime a line looks really strange, you should bet it. I mean, because it's obviously the biggest bookmakers know what they're doing, right?
Absolutely.
So I agree with that one. Detroit, how are they favored over Minnesota? I understand how they make these lines and everything, but that just screams bet Detroit. So
Yeah.
I think you made a good bet there. Brendon, what do you got?
So I'm doing a 4-game parlay this week. I'm a parlay guy. I mean, I just think that for me, I don't have to pick the team that's going to win or lose. I think it gives you the best odds. And
Value.
I'm either
Yeah.
winning big or I'm going home. So this week I did the Philly game, Philly and Giants. I took the over 44.5. I just think that both teams score a lot of points. I know the Philly has a good defense, but I still think the Giants are going to put up some points on them or whatever. It's a rival game. I took the Vikings and Lions. I took the under 51.5. I think both teams can score points, but I think they also both run the ball a lot. So I think this is 51.5 is a lot of points. Texas and Cowboys. I took the over, which is 44 points. Obviously, as we saw, Dallas. I hate to say this, but they almost put up 44 points in a quarter last week.
Yeah.
And then I took the Chiefs in Denver. I did the over on 44 on them as well. Once again, I think it's a division rivalry. I think both teams can put up points. I'm not for sure about Denver, but I just think that it's going to be one of those games.
So that's pretty interesting because you've taken the under on the Chiefs a lot, and you've been very successful with that. So kind of going the opposite way with that.
I just think 44 points is to me, my teetering point generally for me on the over/under is about 47.5. So I just think to get to 47.5 is a lot of points, but I think 44. That's really not that many points. You're talking about 22 points and a half. That's 2 teams combined. So anyways, those 4 bets, I put down $50. It's plus 1,200. I put down $25, and I'd win about $325 off that bet.
Great value right there. For my pick, we had a tough game against the Bengals. The Chiefs did last week, but it's very almost ironic that the Browns are 4-0 against Burrow. I mean, that's just Mahomes is 0-3.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense. And I think they've run 4 different quarterbacks out there against them. Something about the pass rush, Marcus Garrett, or it's not Marcus Garrett, Myles Garrett. Yeah, I always forget the KU player, confuse him. But anyway, I like the Browns plus 5.5 against the Bengals, and I think that's a pretty good bet. And going from there, we're gonna go to Gamble RX, but unfortunately he's away on assignment, so I don't know what
I think he went to jail, but tell anybody.
it's fee. That is
We're
a true,
kidding.
that is a true assignment, but he'll be back next week, and we can always look for his crazy picks. So anyway, we'd like you to smash that like button.
You learned,
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah, absolutely. Share and comment. We appreciate that at all times. But whatever you do,
Don't bet the house.